Commanding over 12,000 knights at just 16 years old, Edward of Woodstock was not a king, but he was a leader. Fighting alongside his soldiers in the thick of battle, he would later be known to history as the Black Prince. Yet Edward of Woodstock was far more than just a prince. He would change the way medieval battles were fought forever. But how did a boy become one of the most influential princes of the medieval era, yet never wear the crown? To answer that question, we have to start at the beginning. Edward of Woodstock was the archetype of the medieval warrior prince, chivalric, charismatic, and lethal. Born in 1330 into the royal house of Plantagenet, he was the eldest son of King Edward III and Philippa of Hainaut. As heir apparent, Edward was expected not just to inherit a crown, but to secure and expand England's dominion by force if necessary. But the boy, drilled to become a fanatic knight, would soon come face to face with the brutal realities of medieval war. The first great test of Edward's military ability came in 1346 at the Battle of Crecy. At just 16 years old, he was given command of the English vanguard in one of the most critical engagements of the 100 Years' War. The English force, around 12,000 strong, faced a numerically superior French army under King Philip VI, possibly twice their size. Edward's position was under such pressure that a request for reinforcements was sent to his father, Edward III. But those reinforcements never entered the battle. The prince could not be stopped. He shattered the French army, even though they held superior numbers. Fellow knights described him as a lunatic on the battlefield. French losses were catastrophic, and the English longbow deployed in disciplined volleys proved devastating. But would this victory be enough to make him a worthy king? Edward's reputation soared. He had earned his place among the great captains of Europe. Following Crecy, he played a leading role in the siege of Calais, which ended in 1347 after 11 long months. Calais became a vital English enclave on the continent, remaining under English control until 1558. In 1348, Edward III founded the Order of the Garter, a chivalric order inspired by Arthurian legend. Edward of Woodstock was named its first knight, yet all the honor he had already earned was nothing compared to what was still to come. In 1356, during a campaign deep into French territory, commanding a force of just 6,000 men, he faced a much larger French army led by King John II. But this time, Edward may have overestimated his strength. Disaster seemed inevitable. Cut off from reinforcements, Edward chose to stand and fight. Using terrain to his advantage, he positioned his archers on high ground and deployed dismounted knights in a tight infantry formation. After hours of brutal combat, the English archers devastated the French cavalry, and Edward led a final offensive, so the French army collapsed. In a stunning outcome, Edward's forces captured King John II and his youngest son Philip. It was a crushing humiliation for France and a massive diplomatic victory for England. But was this enough to secure the will of the English people? In 1362, Edward was granted the Principality of Aquitaine and established his court in Bordeaux. But transitioning from warrior to ruler proved difficult. His administration struggled to govern the politically fragmented region. The Castilian campaign of 1367 worsened matters. Edward supported Pedro I of Castile, known as the Cruel, against his rival, Henry of Trastamara. Though victorious at Najera, the campaign drained his resources and exposed his army to disease. But how long could a prince built for war outrun the cost of it? Not long, and Edward's health collapsed. Chroniclers describe symptoms of wasting, fatigue, and intestinal pain. Theories range from dysentery to tuberculosis or Crohn's disease. This would be the turning point for Edward. Despite his illness, he led a final campaign in 1370 against the French-aligned city of Limoges, which had defected from English rule. The siege ended with a brutal sack of the city. Chronicler Froissart claimed that as many as 3,000 civilians were killed. The event tarnished Edward's chivalric image. The prince who once epitomized honor was now, to some, an agent of vengeance. Edward returned to England in 1371, physically broken and politically sidelined. He died on June 8, 1376, at the age of 45, 1 year before his father. His 10-year-old son, Richard of Bordeaux, would ascend the throne as Richard II. The nickname Black Prince only appeared posthumously, emerging in the 16th century. He was the prince who might have been king. He was the Black Prince.